Hello and welcome to the Year 12 Parents Information Evening for the Sixth Form at Northampton School for Boys. My name is Mr Evans and I'm a Year Team Director for Year 12 and also I'm the Subject Leader for A-Level Sociology and A-Level Politics.
And I'm Laura Checkley and I'm the other Year Team Director for Year 12 and I am the Subject Lead for Psychology.
Mrs Bradley Brophy is the overall Director in charge of the Sixth Form. The Sixth Form in Year 12 consists of 10 tutor groups, of which I am responsible for forms H through to L. My form tutors are Miss Seddon for 12H, Mr Signoro for 12I, Mr Charadine for 12J, Mrs Morrison for 12K and Mr Birkin for 12L.
And I am responsible for the other half of Year 12, forms P to T, and the form tutors for those forms are 12P is Mr Parker, 12Q is Miss Hassan, 12R is Miss Clinton, 12S is Miss Clark, and 12T is Mr Ritchies. In addition to Mrs Bradley Brophy, Mr Evans and myself, we also have other members of staff that help the sixth form. We have Miss Massey, who is a sixth form administrator, and she helps students with day-to-day things such as timetable queries and any subject changes they might have. We also have Miss Tilly, who is our work experience assistant, who will help students find placements and organise their work experience throughout their time in sixth form. And we also have Miss Schaefer, who is our careers advisor, who helps with gap years, university applications, job applications, as well as things like apprenticeships. We also have Mrs Stevenson, who is in charge of the Oxbridge applications and the medicine, veterinary and dentistry applications.
We hope you find the following presentation useful. There will be an opportunity on the 23rd of September for parents to meet virtually with their son or daughter's form tutor. This part of the presentation looks at study and the learning ethos of sixth form students at Northampton School for Boys. The school offers two distinctive post-16 routes, A-Level and BTec. There are numerous A-Levels available for students, and since January, since they made their initial application, students have researched and made the choice as to which A-Levels they wish to pursue for the next 2 years, or whether or not they wish to pursue the BTec course. Students are expected to study 3 subjects at A-Level. In some circumstances, students may study 4 subjects. Both the BTec and A-Level courses are 2 years in length and are linear, meaning that all of the examinations are sat at the end of the course. The BTec course is regularly assessed through modules that take place during the actual course itself. The first 4 weeks of A-Level study are incredibly important. Students are obviously settling into the school, settling into sixth form life, but also settling into the rigours and expectations of A-Level study. And it is important that students therefore are happy in themselves that they have made the right subject choices. Expectations are incredibly high. The academic ethos of the sixth form is prime in the minds of all teachers and us as year team directors. Students are expected to become independent learners, taking responsibility for their own learning both inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. Often, students will undertake part-time work alongside of their A-Level studies. This slide shows you some of the comments that past students have made regarding the part-time employment that they have undertaken. It's important that students balance both expectations of work and academic work alongside other interests and activities that they pursue outside of school. What students should be aware of is that there is a high expectation at A-Level that students will produce the work in their own time. And it's therefore vitally important that while paid employment encourages students to be both financially independent and responsible, that such paid employment does not get in the way of A-level studies and the expected progress that students will make. During the school week, there are 35 periods on the timetable, each lasting 45 minutes each. In general, A-level lessons last for a double period, which is an hour and a half, and students will have 3 double periods per A-level subject across the week. In addition to this, students will also have a double period of sport and recreation, a period of enrichment with their form tutor, and the PSHE lesson with their form tutor on Tuesday, period 3. There are also other opportunities on the timetable to undertake private study. This year, we've opened a new sixth form study centre where students can study and develop that independent learning ethos that is so central to A-level study. In addition to their A-level studies, students are expected, if they study 3 A-levels, to take 2 extracurricular activities in school. If a student pursues 4 A-levels, the expectation is that they will pursue 1 extracurricular activity. Outside of school, students have a number of academic expectations placed upon them. Regular homeworks are set for A-level subjects, and it's also expected that students will undertake independent reading and wider research to support them in their studies. The expectation is that students will undertake 3 hours of additional work outside of school per subject per week. Students obviously will also have other interests and commitments outside of school, such as sports and part-time work. Being an A-level student is an incredibly fun experience, but it's also a massive challenge. And at Northampton School for Boys, we in the sixth form work to ensure that students have an appropriate work-life balance. Also, we focus on how they achieve and not simply what they achieve. The skills that they learn that they can take forward with them into university or their first job. We also make sure that the standard of homework that students are undertaking is both rigorous and appropriate to the level of study that they are pursuing. The year team directors and the director of sixth form will open up dialogue with teachers on termly assessment data to make sure that students are on track to reach their target grades. The school also provides parents with a parental login so that parents can log in and check their son or daughter's progress and also other aspects of sixth form life such as attendance. The Year 12 timetable is busy. Students will have between 18 to 24 timetable periods a week. The other periods on the timetable are given over to private, self-supported study. The PSHE curriculum will prepare young people with the social skills and development necessary for adult life. The timetable also includes an enrichment period with form tutors so that form tutors can mentor their tutees in their academic progress and social development. Getting involved, is part of being at Northampton School for Boys, and it might well be that students also dedicate time to helping lower school students in subjects such as maths or languages. All post-16 students are expected to undertake a work experience placement during their time in the sixth form. Work experience placements are highly valued by universities and also employers, and it might well be that students are expected to undertake work experience placements to support applications in areas such as law and medicine. Mrs. Tilley, the Careers Advisor, in charge of work experience is available to support your son or daughter's work experience placement, but students are also expected to research their own work experience placements. Work experience placements can be done either face-to-face or virtual work experience placements, which have become commonplace, are available for students to undertake. Alongside the academic curriculum at Northampton School for Boys runs the co-curriculum, the enrichment programme, the PSHE curriculum, and also the sport and recreation that all sixth form students are expected to undertake. The co-curriculum includes opportunities to develop the skills necessary not only for A-level success, but for full preparation and transition into adult life. Student progress at Northampton School for Boys is monitored in a number of ways. Parents will receive reports regarding student progress. Form tutors will work with students in enrichment to mentor students, to talk about issues that they might be having in subject areas, and to communicate concerns with subject teachers. Subject staff will also monitor their students' progress in their A-level studies. And the sixth form management team has oversight of the students' progress in all of their chosen A-levels. We put into place effective intervention programs at break time, lunchtime, after school to support students in their A-level studies. The aim is to leave the sixth form at Northampton School for Boys with the best possible A-level results that any student is capable of attaining. Here is an example of a termly report that is issued to sixth form students at Northampton School for Boys. In Year 12, reports are issued just before Christmas, just before Easter, and also after the end of year exams in Year 12. They will include the grades attained, behaviour and home learning grades, and also target grades that students are expected to pursue and meet by the end of the course. The reporting cycles enable you as parents to monitor your son or daughter's progress over the course of the academic year to see if they are on target to achieve their anticipated grade, or to see if they need additional support to actually improve their overall performance at A-level.
Hi all, I'm Matt Roger and I'm Director of Professional Development here at NSB. This section of the information evening is just to talk about how we view teaching and learning at NSB. In other words, what might a lesson feel like and what do we want our students to feel during an A-level lesson. We'll also then talk about remote learning and the expectations of remote learning if a student or groups of students are forced to isolate during this academic year. We are incredibly proud at NSB that our teaching and learning revolves around research and evidence-informed approaches to education. Our teachers experience regular professional development opportunities to ensure that they are using the best strategies and the best bets that are informed by research that are right for their students, their subject, and their classroom. These 6 core principles, though, are at the very heart of our curriculum for all students at NSB, all the way from Year 7 through to Year 13. These principles are also at the heart of our remote curriculum. For us, the remote and the curriculum that we have in school are exactly the same and should be informed by exactly the same principles and strategies to ensure highly effective lessons and that our students are able to make rapid and sustained progress. Over the past 2 years at NSB, we've done so much work around cognitive science, looking at the idea of memory, working memory, and long-term retrieval. And this is something that all of our teachers are thoroughly invested in. They're invested in it because they know it has an impact on student progress and the way they approach teaching and learning in the classroom. So, for instance, we know that our working memory, students' working memory, is extremely limited, and there's little we can do about that, but we can improve our ability to retrieve knowledge, to revisit prior learning, and start to make those all-important connections with new learning and new knowledge. And that's where kind of learning happens. That's the moment when we start combining old and new knowledge that learning really starts to stick. And although this is grounded in cognitive science, of course, it has huge applications for the way we teach. And students will regularly find that as part of their diet at NSB, they'll have knowledge quizzes, they'll have kind of knowledge testing in order to make sure that they have that foundation, that core knowledge, to then apply to more complex problems. So with all that in mind, we're thinking about how we approach research and evidence at NSB. What might a lesson feel like? So although we don't have prescriptive methods of how a lesson must be delivered at NSB, we believe and we support teachers to ensure that all lessons contain some core elements, those core principles that form effective and outstanding lessons. So we ensure that any new information to students is chunked in a way that they're able to process that and manage that. We ensure that our teacher talk, when we're delivering new knowledge to students, is rich in knowledge and gives the students a sense of intellectual curiosity and a thirst for learning. We use that to help develop questioning and facilitate discussion that allows students to test out their answers and discuss with their peers. We always insist on high levels of challenge and a non-negotiable approach to the way our students should be stretched in their thinking. We've mentioned the evidence-based strategies such as retrieval, but also we ensure students have regular opportunities to receive feedback, be that self, peer, teacher or whole class feedback, to make sure that they know their areas of strength and they know how they need to make progress. And so combining all of those principles, this is how we want students to feel. This is what we want students to look like at NSB. We want them to be prepared for the next stage of their education. We want them to be intellectually curious and have that thirst for knowledge and new learning. We want them to not feel afraid, to not feel reticent towards challenging content, and that they're able to wrestle with that and embrace it. And then, of course, all that combined, we want to make sure that students can achieve and indeed exceed their aspirations. And so, as we've said, those same core principles underpin and form the foundations of our remote curriculum. That provision that we want to ensure that students have access to if they're forced to isolate due to COVID. And so we want to just talk through now exactly what students and you can expect if your son or daughter is forced to isolate over the coming months. First and foremost, in the vast majority of cases, teachers will simply deliver the lesson live, as it were, through Microsoft Teams. We'll talk about how students can access Microsoft Teams and become familiar with the software if they're not already a little bit later on. And this way, students can engage via the live chat, they can comment, they can turn their microphones on when they're invited to during the lesson, and they can participate along with students who are also in the classroom. That's our preferred and dominant method of remote teaching. But where it isn't possible for whatever reason to deliver a lesson live, teachers will use the AIM platform, which is our platform that we use for home learning, amongst other things, to set work for students, set alternative work, but also if a student is struggling, they can still access support from the teacher using Microsoft Teams, simply by sending a direct message or by calling the teacher. What's crucial is that in order to ensure that students are able to dial in and join those live lessons at the appropriate time, students must follow their normal timetable if they are isolating at home. That way they can either join live or seek that support during their normal lesson. All students over the coming weeks will be enrolled in their classes on Microsoft Teams, and teachers may use that platform in various ways. They may use it to set knowledge quizzes, they may use it to set homework tasks, but that will be ready if and when a student is forced to isolate, so they have that platform ready to go so they can dial in and join a lesson. We've created a number of guides and walkthroughs so students can review the expectations of remote learning, but also have a step-by-step guide to the practicalities of using the different tools on Teams, being able to submit assignments, dial in, turn off microphones, and engage in the chat function. The other big question is, if a student's forced to isolate, how will they receive feedback? And there are a number of different ways, and that depends on the nature of the lesson and on the task. Students, of course, might receive immediate feedback or one-to-one support depending on the lesson. They might be asked to complete those knowledge quizzes and tests to ascertain the knowledge before then they apply that to later questions. They might be asked to submit an extended piece of work through AIM or Teams, and then the teacher can provide either individual or whole class feedback on that piece of work, depending on the task. If students need any further support, we urge them to go to the VLE, and on the very first homepage, they'll see at the top there is a link to the remote learning guide for students. If they watch that, that should hopefully guide them through all the processes and steps to maximise their learning in the event of an isolation. If students have further concerns, they can either contact their tutor, or if they have any questions about the remote learning procedures at NSB, they can contact me, Mr. Roger, and I'll be happy to speak to them.
Having considered the teaching and learning at NSB, we wanted to dedicate some time to look at different barriers to learning. And one of the key things that we pride ourselves in at NSB is that we do respond to each and every student, and we take on board that each and every student is an individual and will bring their own different barriers to a classroom. And all of our staff are trained to look for any signs that a student might be struggling in any way at all, not just with the work that's set in class. And we aim to support them as best we can. One topic that's been given a lot of attention recently is mental health. And one of the things we're going to talk about here is the mental health support and how we communicate that to the students throughout the school. So we look at mental health and wellbeing within the school, and although your son or daughter's joined us in sixth form, we actually start doing this in year 7. So if your son was in the school from year 7, they will have come across lessons and had people in to talk to them about mental health and wellbeing. But we also focus on physical health as well. So throughout your son or daughter's time in sixth form, they will be spoken to about mental health, about their well-being, about positive mental well-being, and also their physical well-being as well, because it is true that the two are linked in some way. Now, one of the things that we are aware of are that there are lots of different facts for mental health. So we're aware that every single person has mental health and we all need to look after it. And what some of the statistics are showing is that 1 in 10 children or young people experience mental health before the age of 16, and that this really does increase between the 16 to 19 age group. And this can be the age of onset for many different mental health disorders, but also it's a lot of changes for students of this age. For example, changing school, joining a sixth form, starting new subjects, meeting new friends. And generally there can be a lot of changes, because not only have they gone through the pressures of their GCSE years, they're now moving on to their A-level or BTec years and potentially their future, whether that be a job, an apprenticeship or a university course. So these changes can make students anxious, can make them have low mood at times, and therefore is something that we are aware of within the school. One thing that can therefore lead on from this is that 1 in 4 adults may experience mental health within any year. And what therefore this suggests is that with these statistics, that students, although they themselves may not have any mental health issues, it is likely that they might have a friend or a family member that is struggling with their mental health. And therefore what we try to do at NSB is promote positive mental well-being, but also to provide strategies for coping, especially when things just aren't going as smoothly as the students might like, just to try and help enhance their mental health as much as possible. So here at NSB we do have a very open culture. We find that talking about mental health with students in assemblies and in class, and encouraging them to speak if they are struggling with anything, we find that overall this can be quite a preventative strategy. One of the key things that we have found is that if a student comes and speaks to us early on, actually that can really help them to tackle any of those issues and stop those issues from becoming a bigger mental health problem, something that might involve outside agencies, for example. And therefore we do encourage students to come and knock on teachers' doors at any available opportunity as soon as they are not feeling so good, just to come and talk about everything that's going on, you know, the pressures of school life, their outside school commitments, things going on in their families, what's happening with their friends, etc. The key thing with this, by having this open culture, is that we feel it does enable young people to look after their own mental health and their own mental health needs, because like we said, you know, we are promoting this open culture. But also through assemblies and talks from outside speakers, as well as ourselves and as well as their PSHE lessons, we do encourage students to help support their peers and their family. We obviously don't want them to take on too much and take on, you know, the struggles of everyone, but just being there as an open ear, for someone to talk to. Actually, they can lean on each other when they need to, you know, when deadlines are approaching, when things are getting a little bit stressful. And we find therefore that open culture at the school does really help students from never reaching crisis point, and actually allowing them to develop not only their own coping strategies and promoting their own positive mental well-being, but helping those around them as well. So these are some of the things that we do here at NSB. We have PHSE lessons on mental health, stress, resilience, which is key because students will go through multiple assessments, and knowing how to deal with those and learn to focus on how to improve rather than focusing on where everything went wrong can be really good. We also have all of the pastoral structure in the school. So there are subject teachers, each student has a form tutor, each student has the year team director. We also have Mrs. Bradley Brophy as the director of sixth form. All together we are here to support the students. The students also have a voice through the student council, where they can discuss things that they are finding difficult within the school. We also have a school nurse who can do weekly drop-in sessions if a student doesn't wish to talk to somebody that they know and wants to see somebody kind of anonymously in a way. We have school counsellors, so if students do need that little bit of extra intervention above and beyond what we can give them as their teachers, we're able to organise school counselling sessions. There is a mental health society. And we have awareness weeks where students will do different activities. And one of the things that we do is we look at exam stress in particular, because we're aware that exam stress can increase a student's anxiety and can lead them to begin to struggle a little bit with their mental well-being. And therefore we do have targeted sort of workshops and things that go on around the exam times. We also have the ability to refer students to outside agencies and get them support, again, above and beyond what we can give at NSB if needed. So overall, we do have a good support network, and one of the things that we're really keen on within the school is to make sure that we promote clear channels of support, make sure that students know who they can go to and know that those doors are always open for them to approach if they do feel that they are struggling. So at home, there is also some things that you can do to help. So having honest communication with your son or daughter, noticing any small changes in their mental well-being if they're not looking quite so rosy or don't seem as perky over a few days, and just making sure that their responsibilities outside of school are manageable. We come across students who have a couple of part-time jobs or are working 30 plus hours a week and trying to do their studies and trying to do socialize with all of their friends. It's important that they do think about school and their experiences within school, and simple things like them having a quiet space at home to do their work so they're not distracted, so they can get it done quickly and promptly, but also do quality work is really important. And allowing them to have those friendships and meet new people. All of these things are part of sixth form life, and therefore allowing students to have those opportunities can really help promote their mental well-being. We also believe that physical exercise is really, really beneficial. So students, even if it's simply going for a walk for 20 minutes in an evening, if you can encourage your son or daughter to do that, that just can clear people's heads and therefore help promote, again, mental well-being and keep them positive, really. If anything does change at home, what we would ask is if you could let us know straight away, because we can also talk to students and just make sure that we also keep an eye on them at school and let you know of any changes here, and we can work together to support your son or daughter, not just with their A-levels and their BTec studies, but also with their mental, physical well-being and everything else that's going on for them during what's going to be hopefully a really enjoyable but also a challenging 2 years at times. Moving on from mental health and some of the barriers to learning, there are a couple of priorities that we'd like students to take on board this year. One of them, the first one, is to build really strong foundations in their subjects, remembering that the students are assessed in their A-level exams and their BTec exams from the very beginning of their courses. So the information and the content that they cover at the start is going to be assessed at some point, whether that's via coursework or at the end in terms of exams or whether mini exams, depending on how the course is structured. We also like them to focus on becoming an independent learner. The jump from GCSE to A-level can be quite vast in terms of this. At GCSE, students are in lessons all day, every day, whereas in the sixth form, they do have non-contact periods where they're not doing their studies. And therefore, this time is there for them to complete home learning and also wider reading to enhance their knowledge. So developing as an independent learner can take a bit of time, but this is something that we will focus on with them in their PHSE lessons and their enrichment sessions with their form tutors. And therefore, over the course of the 2 years, students do really develop this skill. So it's something for them to focus on, managing their time, making sure they're up to date with their work, and prioritising work, sometimes, unfortunately, over their social commitments. Building intellectual curiosity, asking questions, challenging ideas, wider reading, getting a full kind of breadth of understanding of the subjects that they are studying. We'd like them to try some new things. Within the school, we have a vast array of extracurricular program or activities, and we really do encourage students to do something a little bit different to what they might have normally done and sort of push themselves. Worst case scenario, they don't enjoy it and they can change, or they might find something they absolutely love and wish they'd started years ago. They do become role models to all year groups, especially the younger years, and therefore we'd like them to act as positive role models, wearing their office dress around the school, being polite, being respectful not only to their teachers but to their peers and all students that they come across. And overall, enjoy themselves, enjoy socialising, but also enjoy their learning, enjoy making new friends, enjoy meeting their teachers, enjoy their subjects, and begin to question and enhance their knowledge. So life after A-levels is something that we will touch upon throughout the time in sixth form. Generally, we start this around the January of year 12, which does seem quite early, but that next few months can go really, really quickly. We will help students if they're looking to apply to UCAS, to university, and we find about 90% of students do apply to university from NSB. However, we do have provision for everyone. Miss Schaefer organises an opportunities evening for those who are looking for apprenticeships or employment, or also looking to go into further education. And this is generally held in March, and we do encourage students to look at all options. A lot of students, like we said, will look at university, which is absolutely fine, but we do encourage students not to just do what their friends are doing. Look at the apprenticeships, look at the jobs that are available. Are there any school leavers schemes? Would further education in college be a better option? So we encourage students to do lots and lots of research between January and the summer. We will help them with the UCAS process, and there will be an evening that you'll be invited to, or an online presentation, depending on the situation with COVID at that point, where we will go over the UCAS process and explain the ins and outs of that for you, for anyone that is considering university. And we have Miss Schaefer, our careers advisor, on hand to help with anything that you might wish to ask about careers, gap years, apprenticeships, as well as a multitude of other things.
We hope you found the presentation useful, and if there is any information that you wish to follow up on, please do so either with your son or daughter's form tutor, or with Mrs. Bradley Brophy, myself, or Mrs. Checkley.
And on behalf of the form tutors, we look forward to meeting you on 23rd of September.